Backstage, I got the chance to meet our next speaker, which I'm incredibly inspired by. She is lifestyle guru and businesswoman Martha Stewart. Yes. Martha Stewart grew up in Nutley, New Jersey. She's the second okay, someone from Nutley here. Very nice. She'll be happy to see that. She's the second of 6 children. She actually worked as a model from the age of 13, appearing in fashion shows as well as television and print advertisements. After graduating from Barnard College in Manhattan and having a career as a stockbroker on Wall Street for over a decade, she started a catering business. She bought a farmhouse, and she learned everything about restoration, and reflects that this whole thing was much more her cup of tea than working on Wall Street. She started her catering business during the Watergate years and claims that it is very similar to the stock market. She says in one, you're dealing with people's money, and the other with their appetites. So Martha quickly became known for her gourmet menus and her very unique and creative presentation. Within a decade, Martha Stewart, Inc. had grown into a $1 million business, serving a number of corporate and celebrity clients. In 1991, Martha Stewart released her magazine, Martha Stewart Living, and her growth and expansion continued into what is today Martha Stewart Living Omnimedia, Inc., a lifestyle empire that includes, get this, 2 magazines, a checkout-sized recipe publication, a popular cable TV show, a syndicated newspaper column, and a series of how-to books, radio shows, an internet site, and much, much more. On October 19th, 1999, America's most famous homemaker returned to Wall Street to see her company through its initial public offering on the New York Stock Exchange. Let's take a closer look at her achievements. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Martha Stewart.
Hello. Hi, everybody. How are you? Nice to see you. Thank you.
Nice to see you. This is exciting.
Yes, thank you very much.
How are your travels?
Busy. We've had a very interesting day, a long day. We left New York this morning early. Visited at Facebook this afternoon. We had a great tour of the entire campus, and now we're here.
Yeah. You're a busy woman, Martha. Before we jump in, what drives you? What drives you with all your success? What continues to drive you?
Well, I'm a very curious person, and that curiosity really is, I think, at the basis for all the kinds of things that I like to try and experiment with and attempt, and we have a good time doing it. It's not so much being driven as much as being interested in a lot of different things.
So let's back up a few years. You worked to pay your way through college, okay? And you ended up working on Wall Street as a stockbroker.
Yes.
First of all, why the decision to do that? What was appealing to you about that?
Well, during college, and I was studying history, economics, and architectural history at Barnard, which is part of Columbia University. And I got married when I was 19, when I was just finished my freshman year. And I married a man who was at Yale Law School, whose father was on Wall Street. He had a seat on the New York Stock Exchange, and he was kind of a trader. And he, not traitor, trader.
Glad we clarified
trader. And he kind of taught me a lot about investing. So I thought it was a very exciting business. And when I finished college, I decided, I don't know if it was the right decision or not, because I still love architecture. Rather than go to architecture school, I decided to go to Wall Street. And it's funny, because last night I had dinner with my boss, Andy Moniz, who was my first boss and pretty much my only boss. And he taught me a lot about Wall Street. We had a very interesting small firm And I learned a lot about how American companies were built, how they were run, and a lot about what made a good company. It was a very good education.
Good education.
Yes.
And 10 years in, though, you decided on a huge career change.
Yeah, because we had moved to Connecticut. My husband was working in Greenwich at the time. I had a 5-year-old daughter, Alexis, and I thought that, well, commissions, it was more about what was happening on Wall Street at the time. Commissions were negotiated. Instead of having a strict schedule of commissions, you had to start negotiating. I would have made much, much less money than I was making. And I thought, maybe I'll try something new. And so I went and started working out at that old farmhouse you talked about, and thought I would raise my daughter and see if I could, and that's when I really kind of got the idea that I was an entrepreneur and not somebody who would really work for anybody else. And that's when I started my entrepreneurial endeavors. The first being this catering business.
The catering business. So let's talk about that a little bit. What sort of obstacles and challenges did you have with just trying to start that and try to start this new chapter?
Every business has, and I don't like to think of things as obstacles all the time. I like to think of them as challenges to be solved and problems to be dealt with. And so I was working out of my basement. Turns out that you could be a milliner in Westport, Connecticut, and work from your home. You could be an investment banker from your home. You could run a hedge fund from your home. But you couldn't run a catering business from your home because you couldn't have a second kitchen in your home. It was all about this second kitchen thing. So I had some negotiations with the town fathers about the second kitchen. I finally moved my business to a freestanding location, and that was fine. But I found out that while I was catering, that I really liked cooking. I really liked working on recipes. I really liked setting up a restaurant every single night and breaking it down at the end of the night. It was very hard work. But I also found out that I was really good at hard work.
You were good at hard work. But were you always good in the kitchen? Was that always your passion? Did it always come naturally?
No, it wasn't always my passion, but I was very good in the kitchen. And even during the time I was a broker on Wall Street, I would entertain my clients. One of my clients was a funny little man that I took up to Fidelity on the airplane one day. My bosses said, "You're taking this guy and you're going to introduce him to Ned Johnson. He runs Fidelity, and this is like a giant fund." And I came home that night. My husband said, "What did you do today?" And I said, "I took this guy. He's really interesting." And Fidelity loved him, and they loved his company. It was Ross Perot, and he had just started a company called Electronic Data Systems. And when Ross was running for president of the United States, he invited me to Texas because we stayed friends over the years, and how interesting it was. But that happened all the time. I met the most interesting people. And on Wall Street, my clients were people like University of Rochester, Manufacturers Hanover Bank, the Ford Foundation, the Rockefeller Brothers Foundation, a lot of different interesting groups of people, many of whom I see nowadays too, and are all friends.
And your catering business obviously did well because in 1982 you published your first book.
Yes, so I decided while I was catering that if I didn't do something like write a book, my grandchildren, if I ever had any, would never know what Grandma had done because it's so ephemeral being a caterer. Catering is as I said, a very time-consuming and difficult business, but I thought, I do such beautiful things, why not photograph and write about and teach other people how to entertain? And there was no book like it, and that was another thing. I really believe in filling voids. I really believe that if you are an entrepreneur, finding a void, a hole in the market, and filling it with something really good is a very important thing to do. That's what most entrepreneurs do. you know, Bill Gates did it with Microsoft, and Zuckerberg did it with Facebook. He found a void. And those are much bigger voids than what I had found, but it was still a void that was an important one for the homemakers in America. And I wrote that beautiful book, Entertaining, which is still for sale. You can still buy it on Amazon about 33 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What did you feel was the kind of that first wow moment where you felt like all this hard work, everything is starting to finally pay off?
Well, it was the publication of that book because I found out, and rightly or wrongly, that once you write a book that is acknowledged as a good book, you are an expert. And once people understand that you are an expert in something, they will look to you and ask you to speak, ask you to talk about it, interview you for newspapers and magazines. You are an expert. And that's what also taught me that, boy, you better be good if you don't want to pull the wool over people's eyes and they find out that you're not an expert. So I really believed in making the best possible recipes, testing them well, photographing them beautifully, using the best photographers I could find, printing them in beautiful hardcover books, and making a nice career out of being an author.
Because I wonder, I mean, it's very interesting to, you know, we hear about your catering business and then we hear about the book. And there are a lot of people in this audience, obviously entrepreneurs, people who have a business that want to get to the next level. So how do you go from A to B? Do you know, what do you need to be doing along the way to become good enough and known enough or respected enough, I guess, to have a book? Because not everyone can just write a book. So what did you do along the way to get you to that point?
Well, I worked really hard, and I think that working hard and making money for your hard work, that was another thing that I also discovered as an entrepreneur, that it's all well and good to work really hard, but you must be compensated for your hard work. And not be greedy about it, but be compensated fairly, and that when you look at the end of the month that you actually have some money in the bank that you could invest or reinvest in your business, that you have actually succeeded in being a good business person as well, and you can pay your associates and your colleagues well. You can really actually see that a business is forming, that a business is being created, that you are actually being productive in many different ways. And I think that that productivity also then gives you the impetus to go on and increase your productivity in certain ways. So the catering led to the books. The books led to the idea that I actually was very interested in lifestyle, that there was no real lifestyle company in America. No one was really dealing with all the different subjects that centered on the home, from gardening and entertaining and cooking and weddings and even having babies and kids all together, decorating, all together, cooking. What could I possibly do? So I went to my publisher and I said, would you be interested in doing a series of beautiful how-to books? People really need instruction, they really need inspiration. They really want that because I am that person. I need it and they need it. And the publisher said, no, we're not so interested. There must be another format. And I thought about it, and yes, indeed, there was. There was a magazine format. That was the perfect format. And it was not a great time, 1990, to start a magazine. Many magazines were closing at the time. I went first to Condé Nast. Condé Nast let me create a prototype. They paid for it. And Newhouse then said, well, you know, what would you name this magazine? And I had thought about it, the name. We had Sunday morning breakfasts in my neighborhood with some of my smart friends. And we all sat around saying, Martha Stewart Living would be a great title. And Newhouse said, no, this company's called Condé Nast. It will be Condé Nast Living. And I really didn't like that so much. So he said, he released me, because I also at that time didn't know it, but I was building a brand. I didn't know what a brand really was, but luckily.
So you didn't know at the time what you were doing.
No, I was not so strategic as knowing that, but I had a feeling that something else could happen. And so then I went to Time, and Time actually was very aware of brand building, and they partnered with me and allowed me to have a magazine called Martha Stewart Living. So, and then it goes on and on.
It's amazing. And it goes on and on. How do you stay inspired every day? What inspires you?
That's not hard. It's not hard because, again, that curiosity that I have enables me to not ever go down the same street twice. I don't know if anybody in this audience is like that, but I get bored going down the same street. I commute to New York from a farm that's about 50 miles from New York City. And I have 150 acres in a beautiful, beautiful spot. And I try to go home pretty much every night. Even if I get home late, it's waking up with the chickens and the animals and just having that fresh country air that really that inspires me. But then I go down different roads. I see different things blooming. I see various landscapes. It really helps with my brain. It really helps me understand. I read a lot too. Reading voluminous amounts is very good for your curiosity and for inspiration. Talking to many, many different kinds of people, trying new kinds of things. I'm always trying new things. I'm always experimenting with the newest machines. Just yesterday, I got 2 new machines from Korea. Somebody sent me 2. They're juice presses. So I'm going to be trying the juice press instead of the Breville juicer, instead of the Acme old-fashioned health food juice maker. And then I'd also experiment with foodstuffs. I'm always looking for new kinds of food. I'm always looking at how to grow food better. I work closely with with Stone Barns up in Pocantico Hills. That's Dan Barber and his organic gardening. I work closely, and I am an organic gardener also. So I'm involved in a lot of different things, and all of that helps very much with the kind of business that I run now. The Martha Stewart Living Omnimedia is a really curious and interesting and investigative company.
Now we got to talk about this. You know, this audience is definitely no stranger to challenges. You have certainly overcome a lot, Martha. Can you talk about your philosophy for how to deal with the challenges that you faced?
I've had not too many challenges. I've been very, very lucky. I did fall in one deep hole for a period of about 10 months. And that deep hole was not a pleasant hole, but you know, everybody tells you, and whatever happens to you, it'll make you stronger. F-U-C-K them. It's so mean. That is the stupidest thing, because it doesn't make you better at all, and it could ruin you. It could ruin you. Luckily, I have an extremely strong, healthy constitution, and my health never suffered. Luckily, I'm also an optimist, and being an optimist when you are an entrepreneurial soul is extremely important. So health, optimism, and that curiosity to see what shouldn't happen, what you can overcome is very good. So I overcame a very difficult and nasty situation. I also had a very supportive daughter. I also had a supportive family, and I had, for the most part, a supportive company. And the best of all, I had an extremely supportive audience. And very, very few, advertisers had to take a little rest from Martha Stewart Living. And rightly so, because they really didn't know what was right or what was wrong. Advertisers in the magazine world, and that was difficult for me to stomach, and for the company to live through. But they came back. Advertisers came back, and my customers never left. The products sold very, very well in the stores because they were good products. because they were beautiful sheets and towels and beautiful kitchenwares. And retail sales never faltered. So all of that was very interesting. And you know, that makes you a better person because you know that your friends are your friends.
But and you were able to stay optimistic during that period of time. It never once, the thought never crossed your mind where, oh, this could be a life, threatening injury here, that this could be over.
Well, I wasn't dying, and so I couldn't have fancy food for a while. That was fine. I was sent far away, but my friends came to visit me regularly, and it was just a peculiar moment in time. Right. And it cannot define you. You cannot let something like that define a good person's life. I am a good person, and I am a creative person, and I have done a lot, I think, in terms of educating a vast audience in good things. So again, optimism is so important, but hard work is equally important. And roll up your sleeves, get to work, supervise the troops, or encourage everyone, and find ways to deal with everything.
I love that. I think that, so many people here in this audience, I've certainly been there, people backstage have been there, that will soon be up here who are successful now, but they have had their share of...
Pretty much everybody in business has a challenge or two, and if it's physical, personal, business, whatever, competitive, those challenges can be overcome if you are optimistic and hardworking.
I agree. So now we want to talk about technology a little bit. You actually embraced technology early on. And how does it work for you today, with social media, and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook?
Well, I like technology a lot. And as I said, I bought my first computer in 1982, which makes me an early adopter. I had no idea. I was invited to a big party of early adopters of the computer, personal computers, the PC. So who knows that I didn't know when I was buying the computer that I was early or late. I just needed one. I needed a computer. I wanted to learn about it. I really like learning about what's going on. I've invested a little bit in technology. I like it a lot. I really think that, and I believed so much when we first started thinking about the home computer, that desktop, what could it do for us? I believed so strongly that it would save so much time, enabling me to do so much more. Actually, all of you out there, it has not really saved us so much time. It has consumed us. And so much of our time is spent holding a little handheld device, looking at that little handheld device when we probably should be looking more at our children, at our gardens, at our homes. You can actually really get a little bit confused with all this technology. Social media is a phenomenal tool for promoting businesses. But if you try to do it all yourself, I have a department, dealing with social media, with our website. I do blog every day, and I like doing my blog because I try to write and photograph an educational blog that will actually inspire people to take a little time away from the computer. Maybe they can read it early in the morning when they get up and go out and plant a tree, or raise some chickens, or collect some eggs, or do something. But I do think that we have to find balance in this technological age. The tools, we're sitting with QuickBooks. What a great time-saving tool. And that really does promise and deliver. But the other stuff sometimes doesn't deliver the promise that we were looking for.
So really the challenge is finding those tools that let you accomplish what you need to as far as your business is concerned without taking away from your life and your family.
Right. I have a lot of books. I collect books. And I'm wondering to myself all the time, what am I going to do with all these books? We're not looking at research the same way we looked at research when we were in college. We're looking at, we go to Wikipedia, we go to Google, we look up, and when all the great libraries are online, I will feel better because I will know that I'm being able to find the authors and the research that I'm really looking for online. But right now, it's still not all there. And we have to help those libraries get online better. We have to know how to find them. We have to know how to, if we're doing research on a genealogy project, and it's not so simple. You just can't go to that one genealogy place. My father and I went to the New York Public Library, where there are vast rows of volumes dealing with genealogy, and that's real research. So it's finding the time to do the big picture things.
Martha, you have done so much and accomplished so much. What is still left for you to do that you have not done yet? What is something that is in your future that you haven't tackled yet?
Well, there's lots. I finally have 2 grandchildren who are 2 and 3. Watching them, nurturing them, and paying attention to their development is very important to me. That's big on my list. There are still places in the world that I haven't been that I do want to go. And making sure that the brand that I have built, the Martha Stewart brand that I have built, has a good, long, strong life. I know that it's valuable. I know our teaching tools that we've developed are excellent. And I want to make sure that it has a good future. I think all of us business people in this room want to make sure that what we're creating, what we're building, has longevity and value to others, not just to oneself. And that's very important to me. And being a good teacher and being known for being a really good teacher is also very important.
Now, as we wrap up, you've given us such great information I think that a lot of us can take away today. What is something, maybe a final thought, final piece of advice, anything you would want to tell this audience today?
Well, this audience is on its way. Many people in this room are on their way to creating good product, working on good ideas. Continue to do so and really pay attention and have the passion and the curiosity and the hard work ethic that it takes to build those ideas into a real long-lived business.
Thank you so much, Martha. It was great to talk to you, everyone.
Oh, can I say one thing? I have one more thing.
Yes.
I wanted to make one little announcement because it's kind of fun. Because you are so entrepreneurial, Martha Stewart Living has a contest every year called American Made, and we're honoring this year 10 fantastic American makers. And we have a 2-day program in New York on November 7th and 8th, and I wanted to offer 20 tickets to 20 people in this audience. If you come to Martha Stewart's Facebook, if you post something about American Made on my Facebook page, you can be one of those 20 lucky winners. It's in New York, it's lots of fun, and you'll learn a lot. Okay?
Thank you so much, Martha. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Martha.